Hey team, Lawrence here. Welcome back to the AIRTOC demo series. Today we're covering one of the most critical documents in the initiation phase, the business case. In this video, I'll give you a quick lesson on what the business case is, why it's important, and how it's used by leadership to decide whether a project should move forward or not. And then, of course, we'll head over into a live AIRTOC demonstration where I'll show you exactly how to generate the business case using the AIMPM Project Management Coach. Let's dive in. PMI defines a business case as a documented economic feasibility study used to establish the validity of benefits that a portfolio, program, or project aims to deliver. It articulates the rationale for undertaking the project or program by explaining the business need, its alignment with organizational objectives, and the expected outcomes or benefits. This is good, but as always, we'd like to dive a little bit deeper, so let's take a look. The way we define the business case is it's the formal justification for the project. It describes the problem or opportunity. It explains why the organization needs to solve that problem. It identifies the expected benefits. It evaluates options. It presents costs at a very high level, and it gives leadership the information needed to make a go or no-go decision. In the previous video, we talked about how the charter was a big component in helping leadership make a decision. But the business case, if supported by the charter, can also help them make that decision. And in fact, two is better than one, so that's why we mention it here in these trainings. In simple terms, the business case tells leadership why this project should exist. So why is the business case important? Well, for one, it'll help you evaluate value for the project, right? So if we think we're going to get a lot of value out of what we're doing, it'll help us evaluate that. It compares initiatives against other initiatives that may be within your portfolio or program. It helps folks set priorities with those different initiatives. It helps you outline the risks for taking on this project, helps you determine ROI. So what is our return on investment if we were to do this? And it helps teams align strategy in terms of what the business actually needs. Again, our goal here is to tell the business why the project should exist, not necessarily what we're doing on the project. Next, we have the business case funnel, which shows how information will flow into that final decision. Essentially, if you're able to understand the underlying business need, then you can define the scope of work that may be needed to meet that need. Once you understand the scope, you can align leadership and stakeholders to the work that needs to be done. From there, leadership and key stakeholders can make a decision based on the project's feasibility. If leadership is educated, they can make a decision. Simple as that. Sometimes the business case can be confused with the charter, but don't make that mistake. The business case justifies the project. The charter authorizes the project. Now that you understand what a business case is and why it's important, let's walk through how to create one using the AIRTOC framework. I'm going to switch over to the AIRTOC template and show you how to structure the prompt for generating a complete business case using the AIMPM Project Management Coach. Let's go. Okay, folks, before we dive into the AIRTOC business case template, there's a few things that we want to cover before we get started. For the sake of time and simplicity, we're going to be using simulated minimal data. In real projects, you're likely going to have a lot more context that goes into these prompts. Number two, even with simplified data, you'll still see how powerful these AIRTOC prompts can be. Just remember the golden rule here. The more context you add, the better the output. And last, this process applies to every AIRTOC template in the textbook. The workflow is universal and repeatable across all deliverables. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so let's cover a brief overview of how these demonstrations are going to go and everything that you need to pay attention to as we scroll down the screen. The first thing that you're going to see here is the actual AIRTOC template for the business case. You can find this inside of your AIRTOC template library or inside of your textbooks, and we'll cover this in a lot more depth in a second. Below that, we have a real-world scenario. Now, these templates really don't shine until you actually put a real scenario to work inside of them, right? So we'll cover a real-world scenario or something that may actually require a business case, and we'll put this context into an actual real AIRTOC prompt, which includes your AI platform, your role, your task, your output, your context, and your data, okay? And in these examples, sometimes we break them out so that you have a clear view of how context is put together. All right, so that covers the three pieces of the demonstration. Let's start with the first part, which is the AIRTOC template for the business case. On the left-hand side here, you're going to see the AI platform, the role, the task, and the output, and the context. And these are the three main components of AIRTOC. So you have your AI, RTO in the C here. Below that, you have AI produces. This is really just more of a reference that you'll find in the AIRTOC template library, as well as your textbooks. And this is in case you're not running the prompt at the moment, you can get an idea of what AI should produce for you after you run this prompt. On the right-hand side here, you have all of the details that you're going to need to enter into the prompt in order to get it to produce the information that you're looking for. So in the template model, we give you examples of a lot of information that you can just kind of copy and paste that applies to it, right? So in this example, we mentioned ChatGPT or Gemini for the business case. Large language models are probably the best ones that are going to be able to write out long descriptive business cases for you. Next, we get into the role, which is the project sponsor and the project manager. And every AIRTOC template includes the role for you. You don't necessarily have to guess which role applies best to each deliverable. We put some roles in place there for you. You can use these roles if you want, or take them out if you want. But these are the suggested roles that we suggest that you use for each deliverable. Next, you have the basic task. So we're going to ask AI to draft the business case, including cost-benefit analysis, ROI, risks, and strategic alignment. And again, you can change this task up if you want it, but it should still be related to a business case. You want to make sure you're still aiming for the right deliverable based on the template, okay? But you can change up how this task is written as long as it applies to a business case. Next, you have your output, and all we're asking for here is a structured business case draft. Now, when it comes to context, this is actually what really feeds this prompt. You'll notice that there's two parts here. One is inputs for context. The second is data. Inputs for context is really high-level project information that you can find inside of your charter or very early project documentation. Things like your scope, your baseline problem and your goal, your constraints, your risks, your stakeholders, right? Most of this can be found in the charter. Second, you have your data. This is where a lot of documentation comes into play. And what we try to do inside of these templates is break out which particular data you may need, right? So in this case, for a business case, there's process data and performance data and financial data and compliance data and technology data. And all of this may be captured in a number of different documents. Benchmarks and KPIs, for example, or cost estimates or applicable policies. These are things that you may need to drag into this prompt from other sources, okay? And there's multiple different ways that you can drag this data in. You can either copy and paste it. You can write up a high-level summary of that data and then paste it in. You can drag the entire document into the prompt. It's up to you, but you want to make sure that you're adding at least both to these, right? Both for inputs and context and for data. The more information that you're able to put here between these two areas of context, the better your prompt is going to be. Okay, let's cover this scenario very high level. There's a manual routing and approval workflow across operations, finance, HR, and compliance that basically takes a long time to do, has a high degree of rework and frequent data errors, right? So we want to update that. There's some internal audit findings of insufficient traceability and inconsistent records. The financial analysis shows more than 6,800 hours per year of productivity loss, so that's a problem. And IT confirmed that there's a limited capacity of 2 developers and 1 architect, so they're sitting at around 40%. Ultimately, the CFO instructed us as the project manager to develop a business case detailing the costs, the benefits, ROI, risks, and strategic alignment to seek approval for $600,000 in an FY25 investment, which assumes that we're probably going to need to start a project here. Okay, so that's our scenario. Let's go ahead and take a look at how we can draft this up inside of an AIRTOC template. So in this example, the reason why everything on this side is red is just so that you can have a visual cue that this is the simulation data. Notice that the AI platform, the role, the task, and the output have not changed. We're still using ChatGPT and Gemini. We're still utilizing a project manager or project sponsor, and we're going to draft a business case, and we need a structured draft of this business case. Now, the things that changed here are, of course, the context and the data inputs. So we added in some information about scope. We put in some information about the business goal and the baseline problem. Okay, so that's the 7.4 days, which is a little too long, right? And really, it's just a copying and pasting of information into the proper places. These are our constraints, 600K cap for FY25. We have a 9-month delivery workflow in this case. There's some risks associated. These are the stakeholders that are involved. And then we dive down into the data, right? So now you have process data here, some performance data, and some financial data, compliance data, technology, and organizational data. Okay, so understand, in order for you to get to this point, based on our scenario, You may have had to do some digging. You may have had to drag together some information to actually get the prompt into this finished state. But once we have this, all we're going to need to do is copy and paste this prompt into our AIMPM Project Management Coach. Now, let me show you how this works. All right, I'm going to highlight the entire table here, and I'm going to copy this. And next, I'm going to pull up the coach. All right. Now, the AIMPM Project Management Coach, this is something that's exclusive to AIMPM students. You guys will be able to use this to literally do any sort of project management work that you need to do, whether it's guidance or prompts or, feeding it information to get back information. It works just like any other large language model, but it's specialized for project managers. So as you can see, there's nothing in this prompt here. We didn't, have any side conversations going. All we're going to do is paste in this prompt here that we just copied from our Word document. All right. And we're going to hit enter, and let's see what this will produce for us. All right. So what do we get here? Get the executive summary, the problem statement, the project objectives, scope overview, constraints, stakeholder overview, a cost estimate, quantified benefits, your ROI broken down, break-even payback, your risk assessment, strategic alignment, and your recommendation. Okay. So this really covers the entire business case, everything from start to finish. And all you really had to do was gather the information, complete the template, and you're getting a full document here. Now, once you get to this point, you can ask for this in a PDF. You can make some adjustments in a Word document, just copy and paste it into there. And then from there, you have an actual real business case to present to leadership. All right. And of course, you can elaborate and iterate more on this if you need to. But for the most part, this is a 80 to 90% complete full document that you can use as a real business case in real business situations. Okay. This gives you an idea of how powerful AIRTOC is. We're structuring the content that AI takes in, and we're making sure that it understands the boundaries and guardrails that it has to follow in order to get this output. You can take a look at this and read through it if you like. But as you can see, all of the information that we gave to AI, it's essentially replicating back in a much more succinct, much more concise fashion to us. And this is the type of work that may take you 2 to 3 to 4 hours maybe to produce. It may actually take weeks to get this deliverable, depending on how much information you need to drag in. We've done this in maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. So again, this is the power of AIRTOC. This gives you a full, complete deliverable, and we're going to dive into many more examples of how this works in future sessions. All right, looking forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Take care.